Hello friends, welcome to the Jazz Ranch. Welcome hip cats, groovy chicks, and finger popping daddies. Welcome back. And I have a special program for you this evening. I'm going to be talking about upper structure chords using triads. I'm going to be relating it to Bill Evans and three of his essential ingredients of his playing. First of all, his harmonic sense, his rhythmic sense, and his sense of dynamics. I'm going to be talking about that in this video. You know, someone actually wrote to me recently and said, are you blind? I should have told them that no, I have sore eyes and I just can't take the light. But anyway, this evening I'm going to be playing the song for you called I Should Care. And I'm going to be talking about how to relate it to a Bill Evans concept. But he said this, I'm going to give you his quotes, and he said this: you give up your own personality when you imitate somebody. So let's throw out all the ideas of imitating Bill Evans, okay? He said this: I like people who have worked long and hard developing through introspection and dedication. Well, we love that. We want to encourage that. He also said this: you never master the instrument. You always just strive to get better. And we agree with that. That's all you should do, is strive to get better, step by step, one step at a time. So now here we go. I'm going to be talking about a variety of subjects in this video, particularly relating it to Bill Evans' technique and his concept, and a great song called I Should Care. Now this is part 2 of my tutorial on upper structure triads and upper structure chords. In other words, chords that have flat 9s, 13s, sharp 11s, and all that, and how to find them easily. And I want to relate this to Bill Evans' concepts in 3 categories: his harmonic sense and melodic sense, category number 1, 2, his rhythmic aspect, and thirdly, his sense of dynamics. I think that we can learn from that. And you know, as he said, you give up your personality when you imitate somebody. Well, we're not going to imitate him. I want you to have your own personality, and you'll see that I do that in this particular, that I did this in this playing that I did on I Should Care. That was my solo and so on. I did some of his solo on my previous video on Spring Is Here because I think it's wonderful to learn that particular rendition. And I will talk about specific things that he does as we go along here. But you do want to adhere to your own personality, as Bill Evans suggested in his statement. We learn from them concepts and then apply them to our own personality. Let me put it that way. So that'll be the starting point. You know, people have written to me and they say that they like my enthusiasm, and I'm glad they see me that way because I try to be enthusiastic and it just comes natural to me. I don't have a script here. I'm just working off the top of my head. And I hope it comes off well and intelligent, at least. Anyway, upper structure triads. Let's review. I'm talking now, I'm applying this to a dominant 7th chord. And I'm using triads that are major triads. So, you know, there's more than just that. There are minor triads you can use. You can use other chords on below that are not dominant 7ths. You can use major 7ths, minor 7ths, and so on. We're just talking about a dominant 7th. And I'm going to use the key of C now, or C7, to start, just because it's the easiest one to talk about. So C7, you know, has a root 3rd. 7th is the flat, B flat here. Now, the first one that I use, the upper structure triad, would be the 6th step of the scale of C. Now, somebody got confused when I said it's above the 7th. Well, it's because it's in the octave above the 7th. There's the flat 7 there. So it's in this octave. So we go up to the 6th step, and now we play a triad. So it's A triad against the C7. Now, what does that create? And you know, you're going to get to use this no matter what chord you're playing, dominant chord you're playing in any key, but you're going to use this system. So the A7 now, we need to know its inversions, you know. You can go up or down in inversions. So there's root position, 2nd inversion, 1st inversion, right? We're going down, so it's 2nd inversion, 1st inversion. Now, you can see, let's look at this. Root, major 3rd, flat 7, flat 9, major 3rd double, and then 13. So there you get the 13 and the flat 9, which is a chord that Bill Evans uses a lot, and I'm going to show you that later on. I just want to talk the theory first. Now the next one would be the flat 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat. And then the major chord would be A flat, right? Wow, that's pretty cool sounding, right? So now we have this. I think I like that voicing because do you see the 4ths in there? So that may be the best voicing. We can use the 3rd in there or not. I would say use the 3rd because it's not in the chord. So you have that. It's richer sounding with the 3rd in there. And you have interesting intervals here. You have this augmented 4th there, you have a perfect 4th there, and then you have a perfect 4th there, and then you have a 3rd, major 3rd on the top. And what you have is a sharp 9, right? 8, 9, sharped, right? You have a flat 13, 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, flat 13, which is the same as actually a flat 6. And then the root is on the top. So that's the next one. Now the next one, the 3rd one would be the flat 5. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flat. Now a G flat. That's inverted. usually the inversions sound better than the roots. So there's a better sound right there. Go down one inversion, go down to the second inversion. There's the first inversion. Okay, so now what do we have? Now we have a flat 9, right? That's the flat 9. We have a sharp 11, okay? And then the flat 7 doubled. That's the third one. Now the fourth one is going to be the 2 chord. In other words, up one step. In other words, a D triad. These are all triads now. Now what is that? What do we have there? Well, we have a 9th, we have a sharp 11, and we have a 13th. That's a good one. Now, play it that way. Probably I would use it there. Now let's look at how these resolve. Let's look at the first one, which is the A. So now we're going to resolve these. These are dominant 7th chords with a lot of tension in them, with upper structure tension, which, you know, would be things like 13ths, flat 9s. And they usually want to resolve in a chromatic way. So the 9th would go down to here, and so resolve this way. Or we could go try to make it musical, right? That's the first one. Now the second one would be the flat 6, that one. Maybe something like this. We're going to resolve from 5 to 1, so it's going to be a version of a C7 resolving to an F, right? 5, 1, like that. There you go. Now the next one would be the flat 5. Now this one might go like this. See, I'm making it musical now, just not an exercise, it's musical. And the last one would be this one. You see, so there you... Now, depends on how you're using them in a tune. But there's one more that is sort of a hybrid. It's different from the others, and it's this one. The flat 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, flat. Now, a B flat chord. Now, the reason this is different, it isn't really, it's a sus chord, so a suspended 4th. So it's not the dominant 7th with the 3rd in it. You have to raise the 3rd to the 4th. So this becomes a C7 sus 9. In other words, has the 9 in it, and it has a sus 4, which is really an 11, right? 8, 9, 10, 11. So we can call it a C11 chord or a C sus 4 9 chord. And this is used a lot in pop music, and it usually precedes the next chord, which would be a dominant 7th with a tension note in it, in other words, like a flat 9 in it, maybe like this. That would be the way it would work, like maybe in like that. You see, so it would precede the tension chord, or maybe so. Now I Should Care, I played in the key of C. So the dominant 7th would be a G7, right? So now, we apply those principles to G7. You're going to see that I'm going to use the 6th step of it, which would be E. E major against the G7. So there's a Bill Evans voicing right there. 3rd, 13, flat 9. Or you can do it here. Maybe like that. Now the other one would be the flat 6 would be this one. Right? And then the flat 5 would be G. Flat 5 there, D flat. be the 2, which would be an A against the... Okay, so there you have the 4 varieties, and the sus chord we won't deal with right now. So there it is in G. Now, the other chord that you see a lot in this tune is the 6th chord, which is A7. It's going to move to the D minor, the 2 chord. So the 6th chord has been altered now. So you have the A with the F sharp, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have that sound. I use that a lot in this. Even use the scale. Right? Okay, so that one, the F sharp, the step below that be the F. I use that once, I think, in this. And then the flat 5 would be the E flat. And the 2 would be the B. I don't think I use that in this particular version, but I used, the most common one would be the 6th step, the F sharp, that flat 9 with the 13, the one I use the most, either minor or major, you know, like that. Now these upper structure triads allow you to play in a different way over the scale. In other words, you might be using a D minor 7 G7 scale and you would like go like that to resolve it. Now you have something like this. Now instead of this being a, you have a more complex scale, you have this. So it allows for a more outside, we call outside playing. In other words, you're not playing literally on the scale of that chord. You're playing on another scale. Here I'm playing on the E scale against the G chord. Or simple like it. This. Now an F sharp. I might just play an arpeggio, but I have something that is playing on the, not on the scale tones, but on the maybe the 13ths or the flat 6. In other words, this has, right, the 6 in it, and it has the sharp 11. So, whoop, that's the flat 9, yeah. Wouldn't ordinarily play on the flat 9. I might play this scale. Now I have interesting intervals, like. Let's listen to it. Let's try it. You get the idea. So now the next important aspect of Bill Evans' playing would be his use of rootless chords. And we would take the same concepts of the upper structure and just interpretate them from rootless chords. So this one is, all right, so that first one is the A against C7, right? So it has the 13 and the flat 9. So you could play it like this. Right? Flat 7, flat 9, 13. So like, next one is this one, the sharp 9, right? So you probably play it like that. That'd be the rootless voicing there. Now the next one is the flat 5. So I might probably would play that one like this. Or maybe even like this. Like that, probably. Next one is the D over the C7. Should play that one. No, probably like this. And then the sus chord, of course, is that way. Now those are just the dominant sevenths. So he had many ways of using rootless voicing, like a C7, major 7 might be like that, or an A minor 7 might be like that. He would use fragments, you know, D minor 7 might be like, and then the G dominant 7 might be like that, or like. So he really has a lot of versatility within the rootless voicings that he uses. Now, looking at Bill Evans' harmonic sense, you're always going to have voicings that are, this is a spread voicing, in other words, it's spread out. But you're always going to have this minor second in there. Most of the time, not all the time, but a lot, you're going to have that minor second in there. And then you're going to have this upper structure triad against a dominant seventh. Like that sound. And then this one here, now this one doesn't have the minor second, but it has a beautiful sound to it. Now, what are those chords? This is a D minor 9, right? 1, flat 3, 5, 7, 9. With that minor second in there. And this next one is, now normally you might just do it like that, but he's doing like this. See how rich that sounding that is with the E chord against the G, because you have the 13 and the flat 9 in there. So it's, now that's another common Bill Evans voicing. The minor third here against the 7th with the 9th up there. And he could have made it like this. Could have done that, but this has such a beautiful tone to it, I think, and ring to it. And then we'd go here to the flat 5 there, and then here's the A chord with the 6-step triad above. I'm using it like that to move here. Same type of voicing, 1, 3, flat 7, 9. So he has these now. These are fourth voicings, so this is my own interpretation. He might not have played it this way. But here it is again. That's a Bill Evans voicing. And then he would do these fills, you know, like chordal fills. That's one thing I learned by listening to his arrangements very closely. He does a fill. He's not just going to leave it hanging there. It's going to be, there's something going to happen. Even the melody has stopped. There's going to be some harmonic movement in there. Like that. So there's so much, he's worked out everything. Everything that he plays, he has worked it out and written it out so he understands it. And that's exactly what I did with my arrangement here. This is not his arrangement, it's mine. I worked out every chord. You know, now there is a perfect Bill Evans voicing. What is it? It's a sharp 9, right? So it's not the way we thought of it in the idea of it being the, you know, flat 6 or whatever it was. In other words, we have this voicing. We have actually a G minor chord against an E. You see, there's the sharp 9. Rather than it being minor, like a minor 7 flat 5, like this, like that. That would be the chord that was written. He would do it like this. More tension in there. And then the next one would be a tritone substitute. And then to this one. Very rich sounding chord, right? Minor 9 against the A. And now here's our upper structure triad. There it is. Leads beautifully to this chord. Now big chords. Now talking about Bill Evans' rhythmic concepts, that's probably the most difficult aspect to understand about him, because his concepts are so complex rhythmically. The way he phrases, he has such tremendous ability to phrase in a way that is so like him and so unique in a way, and absolutely perfect And you could study it, analyze it, and put it on a graph, and you still wouldn't understand it. But he comes up with this beautiful way of creating a melody and then adding things to it. And the rhythm is always a lot against the beat. But also he does some very interesting things, like on, he does 3 against 4, he does aspects that are rather complex on certain things, like, for instance, periscope. Let's look at that. So on periscope, he uses a concept of 3 against 4, in other words, 3/8 notes against a 4-beat pattern. And it sounds like this. You heard that, right? Do it again. Up to it. Now that's a signature harmonic, rhythmic aspect of Bill Evans. Now, on his masterpiece, Waltz for Debbie, and he wrote it in his early 20s, at the end of the piece, after the bridge, you get into this 4 against 3. That it's waltz time, but he's doing these patterns that in his left hand that are 4. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, like that. And then he's got a 3 against it in the right hand, the melody. The other thing that I learned about studying Bill Evans' concepts, or studying his performances and his music that he plays, is that he always broke it up. He didn't stay in one technique too long before changing the technique. In other words, he would do spread voicings for a while with upper extensions. Then he would go to rootless voicings and he would change the octave. And then he would create things like, maybe arpeggios in the left hand. In other words, he mixed up the techniques, which is what I like to do. In other words, this is a really important concept in really playing well, is to be able to have the facility learn each technique separately, but then mix them all up into a salad, a beautiful salad. So he would do, he'd do like big chords. And then he would go to something like, use these, go up an octave and use rootless voicings here. You see what I'm doing? In other words, mixing it up, and then we'd put arpeggios in there as well. So harmonically, that's one of his great aspects, is being able to get a variety of things happening harmonically within a tune, and also melodically. I mean, the way he phrased things. We're going to talk about how his phrasing in the next step here. Recently, I heard this recording of Bill Evans playing with Tony Scott, the clarinet player, on a recording. It was on YouTube, and Clark Terry was on the recording, as well as many other musicians, and I think Bill Evans was maybe like 18 at the time. He'd already mastered the technique of, the Milt Buckner technique, or you'd call it the George Shearing technique of locked hands. He had mastered that, and he was only a kid. So now he would play this, I Should Care like this. If you did that technique, it'd be. Or if he played, you do that. But the other thing that he did in his solos that's interesting rhythmically is he would comp his left hand rhythm matching the right hand improvisation. So if he did this, now I hadn't heard any pianists do that before I heard him do it. Way back in the 60s, early 60s, I heard him playing that technique of, Nobody has copied that. I mean, it's his unique, very unique concept, rhythmic concept of comping in his left hand, echoing the right hand's rhythm. So now the third concept of Bill Evans playing that to me is so important and profound is his concept of dynamics. Now, this is probably the most difficult one to achieve. And it's probably the thing that separates him from everybody else. Because he has achieved it at a level that perhaps only the greatest of classical players have achieved it. And it would take a classical player to get this degree. And when I actually opened for Bill Evans in 1979 at Bushnell Park in Hartford with my quartet. Bill Evans Trio followed, and his trio at that time was his last trio. And Mark Johnson was his bass player. Joe LaBarbera was his drummer, and we got to talk to me and my buddy. We talked to Bill Evans early, and then during the break, they took a break, and we talked to Mark Johnson. Mark Johnson said that Bill Evans could play louder and softer than anyone he had ever heard, and that is absolutely true. Bill Evans could play louder and softer than any pianist you've ever heard. And he did that right within a measure. He could change the dynamics from note to note. This ability is uncanny. I mean, there's nobody that can compare to that. I mean, I put George Shearing and Errol Garner right up there in that highest category. Of course, Oscar Peterson, of course, Ahmad Jamal. They all have that. But Bill Evans has it. There's nobody that can. I mean, probably Keith Jarrett was the closest one to come to Bill Evans' level in recent years. But, Bill Evans could play the melody and then play the harmony so soft. He would, and get these subtle things happening. You got this. And then I'm trying to learn how to do this myself. And then we go. And we go like. You would get that level of dynamic. Now, what does that mean? It's emotional. It's the way I'm speaking to you. I am not talking in monotone. Music should not be played in monotone in the same way I should not talk to you in a monotone way. It's the dynamics. It's the emphasis and the subtleties and the nuances. That is the thing. That's the passion. Bill Evans has the passion. I have that. He gave me that. I credit him. If I have any passion and it's reaching you now, it's because of Bill Evans. That subtlety, and then know, that nuance in the dynamics. He had control of that, and it could only come from his soul. He's on another level. He's a genius. He's a gifted. He's been given the greatest of gifts, and we lost him too soon, too early. Please write to me. I want to hear from you. And this is my special tribute to Bill Evans. Signing off from the Jazz Ranch. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please write to me. I try to answer all comments. You know, give me some time. It may take a week. You know, people who are a lot more popular than I am, they have thousands of comments every week, and how can they keep up? You know, I try to keep up because I have maybe 100 comments in a week. And I try to relate to your comments and answer you. In other words, tell you at least that I have received the comment and I appreciate it. So until next time, I will say, in the words of my great friend Hermie Dressel, up there looking down on us with pity now more than ever. Hang in there, brother, hang in there. Yeah. Swing loose and be kind. Bye-bye.